Hello, and welcome to the My Heart and Mind podcast, where it's all about creating the feel-good mindset so you can make the most of every moment and reap the benefits of getting the most happiness out of life. And now, over to your host, Sallie Crawley.
Hey there, wonderful people. Thank you again for joining me for episode number 4 of the My Heart and Mind podcast. This episode is about purpose, and it's about having a today list rather than a to-do list. I really appreciate you being here with me as I talk about things about my heart attack and part of my rehabilitation afterwards, and the difficulty that I had with my mental health, my well-being and my emotional health. Today, I want to talk to you about purpose and motivation, enjoying the journey of your life. To find your purpose, your meaning, the get up and go that has you jumping out of bed in the morning, your thing that makes your heart sing and that makes you feel real good. After my heart attack, it was something that I just didn't have. Have you ever experienced those moments where you have truly felt connected with what you're doing? That to me is having purpose. It feels like you're fully alive, that you're being your authentic self, that time has no meaning and you are completely and utterly absorbed in something. This is often called being in flow or in the zone. So how can we get there? Today we're going to talk about purpose, so let's jump into the show. As I said, purpose for me is about enjoying the journey of your life and making a difference. And again, the definition in the dictionaries, Lexico this time where I looked this up, there are 3 that I've come up with. The definition of purpose, firstly, the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. 2, a person's sense of resolve or determination. And 3, have as one's intention or objective. As I said, having purpose isn't really about what you've achieved. It's more about the feeling that you have. We talk about feelings rather than the actual action. It's about having that feeling of fulfillment and about the feeling of joy. That knowing that in the end of days, you'll be glad that you did and not wish that you had. So how do I apply the definition of purpose and fit it in with emotional cardiac rehabilitation? Well, the reason for having purpose is the feeling behind something that we want to do or achieve. That realization that we and what we want to do is something that exists, not just physically, but emotionally, like a family that feel loved and cherished. Purpose is a person's or yours sense of resolve or determination. Yes, this is what we need to overcome obstacles, maneuver around the difficulties and accept the changes in our lives and in our bodies. About changing our foods, managing our medication, taking exercise and looking after ourselves. And the other way of looking about purpose is it's about having an intentional life, a way that we want to live and following through with action. And as I said, being our authentic selves. During my recovery after my heart attack, I felt like I'd lost purpose in my life. I'd lived a healthy, active life on the main, and I'd made good food choices. I didn't stress, and I had a career that I loved. But it didn't do me any good. Despite doing all of those things, I still had a heart attack and a cancer diagnosis. Did I mention I also had my leg in plaster at the time too? I kind of lost the reason for being. My rehabilitation seemed like it was going on forever and ever. But there became a point where I was so energized from the moment I realized that I had a vision and I was driven to achieve it. My purpose was to help people like me, people like you that were living with a heart condition and were finding it less than easy to cope emotionally. Those who felt overwhelmed by the impact of their life and the changes that had happened. When you have a sense of purpose, you never get up in the morning wondering what you're going to do with yourself. When you're in purpose, that is, engaged with and working towards your purpose, life becomes easier, less complicated and less stressful. When you have purpose, you find yourself living a conscious life, living purposefully and living in the now. You gain clarity about what is important and what is not. Purpose brings with it a relentless energy and passion, and you enjoy success not only in the outcome of the goals and ambitions, but in the journey too. It's about the feelings on that path. It helps you to build resilience, and you'll start to live a life that feels meaningful. Earlier, I spoke about the feeling of what's the point in doing anything. Well, it's about the feeling of meaning, the difference that you can make in your life and the life of others. During my own recovery, I was in a wheelchair and on my own with my daughter who was in the middle of her GCSEs. My point then was to get her through the exams without my health getting in the way. It wasn't easy for either of us, but I had no choice, and nor did she. Life went on. Once she was out of the house and in her bedroom, I could let my guard down again and wallow in self-pity. I did like a bit of a pity party, and I let life go on around me. That was until I decided I had to be different. If I wanted to feel better, I had to do something different. So I decided to spend 15 minutes, that was all I could manage at the time, a day, checking and deleting some emails that had piled up over the time. And not just sitting on the sofa, but from my home office. I then had a purpose for each day. Small as it was that first glimmer that what I needed to help me feel like I had a purpose in life. In future episodes, as I said, I'm going to teach you some tactics and some processes to go through. And one of the things that we'll talk about and some of the techniques that we'll go through when we're covering off purpose will be about appreciating what you have got. We'll learn about resilience and bouncing back, about random acts of kindness, about being yourself and no one else, about creating new beliefs, finding exactly what your purpose is, know what it is that you want to do, starting a new hobby, starting new activities, about goal setting, something small and being able to achieve it, and for going for it as well. If you have a big hefty goal, breaking that down so that it is achievable step by step. Whilst having purpose can mean that huge thing, your life purpose, that's not where you start off. And today we're going to talk about taking it step by step, especially if you're in your early days of rehabilitation. If you have that feeling every day of why am I here, what's the point, or just another day of paradise, said with sarcasm, then start small and cultivate the habit of purpose and achievement, like me and my emails. But remember, we're not going to be creating a to-do list, but a today list. And I think that's what's really important. It's about what are you going to achieve today. Things that you know you can achieve should be on this list so that you will get a reward, a hit of dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical that our brains release whenever you have a task that you look forward to completing and then you receive it when you accomplish it. And believe me, size is not what's important. It's the achievement and the release of the dopamine that makes you feel good. So, let's make a today list. So the steps for that are quite simple really, and I've broken them down. Take 5 minutes each evening to think about what you want to do the next day. Grab some paper or a notebook. You could use a whiteboard or even your phone or your laptop. And write down, say, 2 or 3 things. 5 is the absolute maximum. Only do a few that you want to do and achieve. They should be mostly easily achievable. Perhaps things that you do anyway, such as having lunch, walking the dog, etc., doing the washing up. But one of them could be something that you want to do that you haven't done yet. E.g., I hadn't been doing my emails. If it's something big, then break it down. What's the first thing you can do that would move you closer to achieving that bigger task? Remember, this isn't a life purpose activity, but the purpose for today. Maybe you want to clean out the kitchen cupboards. Then choose just one cupboard to put on your list. It could be organising your fishing gear. So break it down to the task for that one day. Just for today, it's to gather it all in one place. Then the next day, Keep your list handy so you can see it. Maybe you've allotted a little bit of time for how long each activity will take, or perhaps put them in order, whatever floats your boat. Now, this is the bit I like and why I prefer to use paper and pen over technology. As you go through your day, tick off or cross through the tasks as you achieve them. At the end of the day, you can then look back at your list and see what you have achieved. You'll then feel that your day has had purpose and you may have moved yourself towards something that you wanted to do but just couldn't be bothered. There's a special note that I just want to say here is, if you don't and didn't get it all done, then that's fine. Reflecting in the evening about what got in your way is often a good place to start. A big question is it within your control? Because if it's not in your control, it's something that you will find difficult to achieve. And again, if it's something without your control, how can you overcome this and put it on your list again? What steps do you need to take? And then start over with a to-do list for tomorrow. And that's it. So what do I want you to do? Every day this week, I want you to make a list at the end of each day of the 3 things that you want to achieve. I have an activity map, Own Today. This will help you keep on track. You can download it from my website at www.myheartandmind.co.uk/AM005. And don't keep it all to yourself. If you're finding that you're achieving things, then please share it within our community because we'd all love to share your success with you. But thinking about things that might get in the way of that success, here's something that I think that you might find yourself thinking. There's nothing that I want to do. So right now there might not be. So start small. As I said, you could just list some of the general jobs like cleaning your teeth, making the bed, cooking dinner. Now the seed has been planted. You may start to think of things throughout the day. Just jot them down so you can check back on them later. Maybe it will take a couple of days. If you're really stuck, get in touch with someone or ask in our community for ideas of things that you can do in a day. You got me? Just allow the mind to come up with some ideas. It doesn't always happen straight away. Another thought that might hold you back is, my task is too big, I can't get it done in a day. Sometimes that is the case, and you may need to spend a little time more breaking them down into manageable bite-sized steps. There's the question, how do you eat an elephant? Well, I nearly gave it away then, one bite at a time. Again, if you are stuck with how to break it down, ask in our podcast community and see what others might suggest. A quick recap then. Number 1, take 5 minutes at the end of each day. Think about what you'd like to achieve the next day. 2, write down 2 or 3 things, 5 absolute max, that you want to do or achieve. Remember that they must be mostly achievable because we need to just flex that muscle and get used to this feeling. Then 4, the other task could be something that you want to do that you haven't done yet. If it's a big task, break it down into smaller steps. Keep a list so you can see it. And then do my bit that I love the most. Tick it off, cross through it as you complete. You might want to save it for the end of the day though. It's totally up to you. Then at the end of the day, look at your list and see what you have achieved. If you didn't get it all done, reflect on the why, adjust, and then carry on or carry forward. And 10, start over with a to-do list for tomorrow. And remember, the community is there to support you at all times. So join with me and together we can love the life we live. Please share this podcast with someone you know that you would think that might be of benefit to them. They don't necessarily have had a cardiac health issue, but it is particularly about supporting people who have had a cardiac event of some shape or form. Please share. The more it's shared, the more people I can help. And that is what my purpose is. So just remember, there's an activity map for you today called Own Today. And you can download it at www.myheartandmind.co.uk. www.am005. Remember, share in our podcast community your successes. We want everyone to succeed, and I'd love to hear about your wins. Once again, thank you for listening, and as the beat goes on, one moment at a time, until next week, and I'll be talking to you about, yet again, another of the stages of mindset, and this time it's going to be about confidence. As I struggled with my return back to everyday life, I found I had a huge loss of confidence. It wasn't just my self-confidence and my self-esteem, it was my confidence in abilities and with others. I am not sure where one starts and one stops. I think confidence in my inner and outer worlds blend without any borders and are linked to the same. To get out of your own way is something we're going to talk about. You can rid yourself of doubt. You can grow with self-belief. You can have confidence to step at first, then leap right outside your comfort zone. So, as I said, I'll see you next week. Until then, don't forget, join the podcast community on Facebook, search for My Heart and Mind podcast and say hello. Thank you once again. Bye-bye for now.
You've been listening to Sallie Crawley and the My Heart and Mind podcast, a show for you if you've had a heart attack, cardiac event or other life-changing experience and want to feel good. It's all about mastering your feelings and emotions so you can feel great and live the life you love. To find out more, visit www.myheartandmind.co.uk and note that that's an AND and not the ampersand character. Go be magnificent.